Yeah, no, they've done a great job. And then, unfortunately, all the independent pubs closing down and some reopening, and because to me, the independent pubs are the heart of the community. The Wetherspoons and that are okay, but it's the independent pubs like you've got down there, the West End, Queen of the West.
Queen of the West,
and they put events on, and it's a thriving arts community, really, with different stuff.
The cycle of most cities, though, is they do a lot of development. It attracts big business. Then the big businesses leave, and then a bunch of independents show up and do a load of stuff, and then that falls to the wayside. You ready to go, Ron?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Welcome back.
Right, thank you very much. Well, it was very interesting, the last one. I mean, the hour went by so quickly.
Yeah. You are still the most viewed video
I haven't looked recently.
You whenever I tally the kind of like podcasts which have been viewed, yours sits up because you've got over 500 views.
Really?
Yeah.
Good grief.
It's insane, and that's just YouTube. That doesn't include iTunes or anywhere else which I posted.
Well, I can't explain that. I mean, I know I briefly spoke last time about law of attraction and the power of intention and putting your thoughts out there, because everything in the universe is based on energy.
Yep.
So if you put your good energy out and whatever. I just remember looking on Yelling for Concrete, and the two most viewed ones at that time were Nathan Dean and my nephew Nathan.
You and Nathan Hall just holding the top spots for ages.
Yeah.
I think he was a bit disappointed because he came on a second time with our friend Sean, and they discussed wrestling because they're both really into wrestling. And it didn't do as well.
Well, you can't say. I mean, when you go on and do these things, I never had any big ego thoughts about wanting to beat somebody, but I just looked at those, and Nathan kept saying about, as long as you don't beat mine. So I just kept sharing the thing with people. And I'm lucky that I've got lots of Facebook friends here and in the abroad. And no, I was just amazed. I thought maybe it might get to 100 or whatever.
I mean, there's a nice symmetry to this as well. So the last episode you were on, I can't remember the number, but it was either 49 or 50. It was close. This is episode 99.
Wow.
So the next one will be 100.
Yeah, there's
so we're nice. Every 50 episodes, I've got to bring you back. We'll just keep that rolling.
Yeah, no, I had lots of positive reports from it. And of course, at that time, we was given a brief history about the poetry scene.
Yep.
And that's kind of settled down now, because really we only have like 3 open mics now.
Yeah.
Because the Poetry Green Room was handed over by Gemma to Sophie Lavender, and she's now renamed it Emerald.
Okay.
And she's made it was always open to everybody, but now it's including anybody and everybody with comedy or whatever.
Okay, so it's more like a full-on open mic.
Jolly Brewery's still going, even though the pub closed down for a week and then
Jolly Brewery's gone through a nice cycle.
And they were finding it difficult to find somewhere else to be able to do it. So now it's opened up again, and I understand that it's going to be open for at least a year.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, because the new owner wants to do the flats up. I assume he wants to make a couple more out of what's up there.
Yeah.
Well, there's 6 big flats upstairs. So.
It's a strange building.
Yeah, well, it dates back quite...
Yeah, I had a couple of friends used to live in the flats next door, because there's that building which kind of cups onto the end of the road. And I remember going in there, and I didn't realise there was a courtyard in the middle of it, and it was just this huge domineering block of courtyard. And it's just so strangely laid out as a building.
Yeah.
But it is old.
Yeah, and of course the Jolly Brewer has been a creative hub for many years for many people, because there wasn't available at that time what we've got now. at different pubs. So people can pick and choose. I mean, I feel blessed that I set my event up at the Birdcage.
Yes, which of course is still going.
Fabulous. I mean, Rachel and Chris, well, it's mainly Rachel. She is the face of the Birdcage and runs the Birdcage. And she puts her heart and soul into it and tries to get as many different events on so that you can be inclusive of anybody and everybody. I now have an event called Quail, which is queer arts in Lincoln.
Okay.
And that's run by Lewis Button, who's related to Sophie Lavender. And even though it's an LGBT event, it is open for everybody to go along.
Yeah.
It's just what they came up with.
Just their main.
And then they have their main music nights. They have Uncaged, my spoken word night, and comedy nights.
Yeah.
They do some ticketed events. And talking about comedy, of all things, that it'd be about 4 or 5 months ago now, I took part in a comedy workshop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, you know Paul Mutigacia. He's
one of those names which pops up.
Yeah, well, he's a local comedian.
Okay.
He organises lots of these things locally. And he said to me, why don't you take part in a comedy workshop? I thought, I only say random things funnily if I've had a bit to drink.
That is the key to comedy.
But anyway, he said, well, it's good to do you out of something out your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I remember that in the interview I did here last time, I think I ended about doing things out of your comfort zone. So I went in for it. It was over 2 hours each Monday for 3 Mondays doing a workshop.
That's quite a lot, yeah.
And on the last one, the following night, we did a showcase finale in the Birdcage.
Okay.
And I made lots of great friends there, really nice people. But it's interesting how you actually manage to construct a sketch together.
Okay.
Because the first time we went there, it was like Paul said, get up in front of the mic, just improv stuff or just say whatever.
Yeah.
And for some of the people who hadn't been used to getting up into a mic, it was getting them into that comfort zone of doing it. So we did that, and then we were making stuff up on the first night. But then by the second Monday, we had to come back with bits of scripts and things like that. And Gina Overton, who's a partner in crime with Paul Mutigacia on the comedy circuit, she did a load of observations, and she said, I'll create a group chat that we can and put it all on there. And it was interesting to see what she'd put down about everybody.
Yeah.
And for me, she said, you're a bit of a raconteur. You obviously like to be up in front of a microphone, and but I'm a bit too wordy.
Okay.
Because with comedy, you've got to condense it down a lot.
It has to be very
and
punchline.
quickly get to the punchline, exactly. And then I had done a joke there that night, and she said to me, circled it, said, and don't do the joke about the dog fucks a pig, you weirdo. Things like that. So I messaged Paul about that. I mean, overall it was quite good. She just wanted me to condense it down. And Paul said, why not work that into your script?
Yeah.
You've been banned from doing a joke.
Can't do a stand-up.
So when it came to the third Monday and we were trying to finalise scripts, again, because we did it in the workshop in front of everybody, and it just didn't feel right. But I was getting there, and I mean, they were kind of happy with it. But on the day of the showcase finale, which was the following day, I kept looking at it. I thought, no, I've got to chop some of this out. And I had a big sequence about Spider. But part of it I wasn't happy with because it wasn't drawing you into it.
Okay, yeah.
And then was just sat watching telly, and the one thing that caught my ears is these words, vaginal dryness.
Okay.
Because there's a part in the script where I get distracted and I eat the pet spider sort of thing. So I incorporated all that into the script and made out that I was watching TV. The spider was on the side, and I like Oreo biscuits, reaching out for the Oreo biscuits, watching TV, mug of coffee in the left hand, and hearing those words, vaginal dryness, and the word vagina several times. I didn't realise I'd picked up Boris the spider and his little legs wriggling about. So I dipped him in the coffee and ate him. That was part of a build-up script to being a phobia about spiders.
How did you find doing scripts compared to poetry? Because my background was film and photography, and I always find when I try to do anything poetry or spoken word, it always ends up as a bit of a monologue in it, because I'm so used to writing scripts and dialogue and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Gina said to me, for me, to think of it like a poem.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and just condense it, get to the main crux of the point, draw your audience in. Because the bit I was talking about where I'd been banned from telling a joke, when I went on the showcase finale, I came on and I said, if I look a bit nervous and stressed out, it's because my sister had been in hospital and I had to tell a joke about that. And also, I've been banned from telling my... no, I said, some bitch. No, Gina Overton has banned me from telling one of my jokes. And then I went to encourage the crowd. I guess you all want to know what it's about now. And they all go, yes. I said, well, all I can tell you is it's about a girl, a dog and a pig. But then the whole routine with different bits in was about 10 minutes. And they'd been telling me about what you call callbacks.
Okay, yeah.
And so when I got to the end, after I'd done the main spider sketch, I then say, well, I was meant to finish on the joke about a girl, a dog and a pig, but I've been banned from doing it. But I've had to come up with something new. And it was a totally different joke, but it starts off a man, a dog and a pig. But I could hear in the audience, it connected with people, and you know. So it was good, and I've done a few open mics since then.
You still writing your poetry then?
I am. Oh yes, no, I still do. I haven't written as much lately. Because, as you know, my wife's got multiple sclerosis. She went into hospital in March on a blue light. Thought she was nearly gone. She spent 2 weeks there. NHS, I hear people moan about them, but I can't fault what they did. And she came out, but very fragile and everything. And then, what is it now? Nearly 10 weeks ago, she went into hospital again. Not on a blue light, but because the nurse didn't like the way she looked. Got the doctor in, and they arranged to go into EAU. And she ended up being 5 weeks in hospital, and now under discussion with social services. She's in a care home at the minute because she still needs 24 hours continuing care. And they felt it would be a bit too much at home, even though we did have carers coming in the daytime. So your mind isn't in the right place to do it. So the one thing I really concentrated on was just being the compere for Uncaged, and maybe reading some of my poems just to warm the evening up. Because not everybody wants to go first.
No, I think it's kind of impressive that you still have the energy to keep comparing.
Well, I kind of created the persona with bright shirts. And now,
the shirts stand out for anyone not watching the video.
well, if I go out now and I haven't got a bright shirt on,
Yeah.
people are disappointed. So
I think I wait for whenever I'm on Facebook and I scroll through and there's always a picture of you with some
Is
random
there?
person in a big bright shirt, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is what I need to. I dress in black constantly.
Yeah. And I guess what it is, people remember Uncaged because September we had Gemma Baker as the special guest.
Yep.
And we had roughly 60 odd people there, and people came from Manchester, Peterborough, and those places. So I had a new shirt for the occasion, and also I think since the last time I saw you, I now have a opening theme tune.
Okay. Right,
I went to see The Greatest Showman.
Yes. Yeah.
And the opening song, The Greatest Showman, the first minute is this just people making vocal harmonies, and it builds to a big crescendo, and then you get the voice come on, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. No, I've got that wrong. You have to, on the night, you get all buzzed up. Yep. No, it starts off, ladies and gents, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Right. And he says all the bits, but I go, good evening and welcome to Uncaged at the Birdcage. So they know now, and I only do the first 55 seconds, and I speak those words. But people know that... that is the big moment, and it's a moment to gee them up as well, because people go there, they've been sat talking, drinking, and so if they go, oh yeah, like that, no, a bit more, we want, and then I open up with maybe a couple of poems, but if there's a lot of people there, then it's not for me to do it. I try and get somebody else.
Try and get as many other people.
Yeah, to get people in.
I do find it's kind of interesting, like you mentioning, getting the audience going. And I think you see that a lot with like comedy actors and whatnot, where they work so hard to get the audience in the right mood. Whereas when you go to like a lot of art events and theatre events, you don't get much audience interaction because you're meant to study what's on stage. Whereas with like an open mic, there is that balance of needing to kind of get them on your side, or at least in the mood to actually be there and do things and whatnot. But I think I don't know whether you can actually teach that or whether that's just your natural personality.
I don't know. I think it's something I've learnt over a period of time, because Gemma and I did go to an awful lot of spoken word events out of Lincoln.
Yeah.
And you see a mix of stuff. Some of it is a bit samey, and it is like people going there, you're just observing and that. But then went to one at Nottingham. It's near the Market Square. I can't remember the name of the pub, but it's a bit like the Green Dragon with the old... And you go down an alleyway to a room upstairs. Yeah. And it's run by a guy called Miggy Angel. Okay. And... very unassuming guy, like yourself. He's got a beard and whatever, but he has a presence about him. And he came on slowly but he seemed to build the audience up. Yeah. And so I remembered that. Then I remembered the other ones where, they would just have something about them that was different. So I guess that's where the shirts come in.
Do you find kind of the reason, I guess not the reason, but one of the reasons, is it more like keeping your open mic nights and stuff going and everything? Is it more the want to kind of encourage community, or kind of get yourself out there as well? No,
definitely it's community. I mean, as a compere, you have to be a little bit more exuberant, don't you, to get across. But it was always the intention of when I started about the community of it. And I guess over a period of time, and the fact that I get people that come from different areas, and I say, how did you know about it? Oh, so-and-so told me they'd been. And we're welcoming to everybody, whether you're a consummate performer or it's your first time. And I've generally tried to note down how many newbies we get. And usually there's about 4 or 5 newbies every month. that turn up.
Last time you were reaching an anniversary of it, or you just had an anniversary.
Oh, yeah, it was going to come up to.
Yeah.
Was it the 2-year anniversary?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Do you think you've seen? I guess with having new people come, do you think your audience has changed from what it was about a year ago, or do you think it's about the same kind of people or style of people, or?
Yeah, it has changed to a certain degree, yes. Yeah. I mean, particularly on the last two, a good 45% of the audience I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
And I always, at the beginning of the night, think, oh gosh, this is going to be the night where nobody turns up, because I've been lucky from day one. I mean, day one, again, out of curiosity, but it was ram-packed, about 70 people.
Yeah.
And then it gradually tailed off to around about 30-ish, and between 30 and 50 and so on like that.
Yeah.
So what was the question?
Whether you think your audience has changed, like.
Oh yeah, they definitely have changed. Yeah. Yes, I mean a lot of people that we had that came regular have now either gone off to do different things or moved away from the city.
Yeah.
But they still obviously spread the word, because I have people who turn up from Sleaford, Boston, Grantham, and as I say, as far away as Manchester and Peterborough. So yeah, it has changed, and it's a good thing to have different people every month. You get those that will go on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Not everybody can get every month, but you see how it turns. And I always think to myself, if they all turned up on one night, we wouldn't be able to get them in.
Everyone who'd been once suddenly turned up.
But on the last one, the last few, I came across this girl called Harriet.
Right.
Nathan knows her.
Okay.
He brought her to the last Jolly Brewer one before it closed down.
The last one.
Even though it's open again now. And very sweet, delicate girl. Yeah. She was talking about, in what she'd written, about her problems with having eating disorder and wanting to self-harm. Mm-hmm. And it was quite a long piece, but I was so impressed by it. Mentioned uncaged, as I do to everybody.
As you do.
And surprisingly, she turned up the following month.
Yeah.
And we had and that was the month when Gemma was on. So she had a big audience and went down a storm.
That's great. No, I always find it's interesting to see how, in a way, self-aware people are when they run events or do things in the city. Because like I was saying with Nathan, the first podcast we ever did was discussing the art scene in Lincoln and how it has this weird cycle of disappearing and then popping out and then disappearing and popping out. Nothing really persists for such a long time. Whereas with like an event or a night or a nightclub or anything like that, they tend to have to change with their audience because their audience is usually students. So it goes round and round. There's always a new trend and that kind of thing. And I know when I do things, I always go against the audience. I'm always sat there going, well, the audience wants this, so I'm clearly never going to do that. We could edit these podcasts down, but I'm never going to do that because I like to abuse the audience. Whereas with like yours, obviously it's a community event. Do you find you have to alter kind of bits and bobs about how you're doing it, or do you just...
No, it's kind of got its own template now, the format. As I say, with the opening music, I always meet and greet people at the door, or as they're coming in. I guess that might be a little bit different from how some people do it. I don't just go up to somebody, ram a pen in their face with a piece of paper, oh, do you want to take part? I go up, I shake their hand if I haven't seen them before, or if it's people I know very well, I give them a big hug and just meet and greet and, would you like to go on, would you like to do a bit? And then you come across those who have come to observe, but they have got a book in their bag or pocket, and they say, "Well, I'll see how the night goes." And we always get a lot of good people, and I guess people keep coming back because hopefully they feel welcome.
I think that's an important part of any community event. It's just that feeling of welcomeness.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Do you still get out to other events outside the city?
I haven't been as much. I did go to one at Nottingham. It was called Verses and something, and it was really good. They had it at a pub called the Lord Nelson there.
Okay.
But with my wife having been really unwell, I haven't travelled as much. But I would love to, and I'd love to do like we used to do, go on a road trip. I mean, Gemma nicknamed my car the Ronmobile. So we get people in and we go on a trip. But I'd love to do that again, but it's difficult if you're doing any distance, and I need carers in. Mind you, she's in the care home at the minute, so, maybe I'll see if I can fit something in.
I do find it's always good to kind of see other things in other cities. Obviously, I've just been on holiday to Canada for 10 days. So I tried to get to a few kind of art events going on in the cities and whatnot. And I went to the zine fair there and seeing how different communities develop, essentially. I know within the UK, everything art-wise tends to be quite independent, tends to be quite informal. There'll be people who are doing it just for the expression, essentially. Whereas most of the events I went to were quite organised, usually owned by businesses or organisations and that kind of thing. And everything was very, very much aimed towards making money to an extent and getting their names out there and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just maybe that area of Canada I was in. But I don't know if that's just a UK thing.
Well, I think here, Susie McElridge, and she's into zines in a big way, and I think there's a zine fest coming up at the Mansions of Future.
That's on Saturday. I'm going to be there.
Oh, great!
Yeah, with my suitcase as usual.
With your own. Yeah. Is that Potato Man? Or,
no, that's Potato Man. He's not there. Well, he is there, but he isn't. That's with Null Point. So Null Point's the zine I make, which I guess is kind of an open mic zine essentially, because I accept submissions from everybody. Yeah. But it's all anonymous, so you remove all the names and whatnot. It's just the artwork has to stand on its own legs.
But I think we have more of an independent one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen really many organised ones that would involve publishers and things like that.
I went to one in Sheffield and I went to one in York. The one in York was very independent. It was very small, independent, singular people. Most of the zines you could buy were about 50p. Whereas the one in Sheffield had actual publishers, people who had kind of done their self-publishing thing and printed books and stacks of it and whatnot. So it's always, I kind of know. I never know which I prefer, in a way, because I end up in a lot of galleries looking at like work, and I like big galleries and the ones who can afford to have all the big work, but at the same time there's something really nice about seeing kind of smaller works in a way, which I don't know, they would drop off in big galleries and whatnot. Do you think you'd ever take Birdcage to be bigger, like to a less informal stage? Or
no, but an idea that I have got, I think the Birdcage is Uncaged is ideal for the Birdcage. People love it because it's a real pub, as people call it, and Rachel and the staff make everybody welcome. So it's just encompassed in what it says, and it's got its own vibe. I don't think it would be good to move it and make it bigger, but I have had an idea to do another event, but it would be a ticketed event and probably somewhere bigger, and probably get name people off the circuit. They would obviously have to be paid, and it would be like maybe 2 poets and a singer. So you would have one poet who is like coming up maybe locally or further afield, and they would do 30 minutes, and then we would have a break, and then we would have the singer on who would do 30, 40 minutes, another break, and then an established person who's on the poetry scene basically making their living out of going to different events. And one of those people is, her name's Toria Garber,
Okay.
and for the last 2 years and a bit, she's been supporting John Cooper Clarke.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
if we could get people like that,
Yeah.
and she's been to the Engine Shed, and because Gemma and I, we met her when we met up with a group when we first started called the Firm of Poets. I think I told you about it last time.
Yep.
And we was inspired by them, so we became friends. And she said, you know, mates, right? So hopefully we could try it. We would have to try it and see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it might evolve. I've got a name for it, but I don't want to give the
That's
name
fine.
out on air
Yeah.
because somebody might nick it. Well, you know it is until
Yes,
you get the
yes.
event going. But it is quite a cat. I'll tell you
Yeah.
off air. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I've had a very similar problem in the last year or so. So essentially this year I had a huge idea. I had a big idea and I was like, I need to do this. I need to do it because I turned 30 in about 3 weeks.
Right.
And I was like, I need to do it from 30. That's like the deadline. And I haven't been able to put it together. But every time I kind of talk to anyone about it, in my back of my mind, I'm like, oh, but what if someone takes the idea? What if they steal the idea of what I want to do and they run away with it?
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, the long show is I want to put on an open exhibition for
Yeah.
visual art within Lincoln, and just kind of run it in the same way I do as No Point and take open submissions and allow everyone to submit, but
Yeah.
not charge any entry fees or anything like that. Kind of fund it myself. But every time I talk about it, I'm like, what if someone comes along? They're just like, oh, well, we could do that. And I think because I had the idea in the middle of summer, and there was during summer we had quite a boom in art stuff.
Yeah.
And, obviously the Point opened up with Gemma, and
Yeah.
quite a few events just kind of kicked off. And I was just looking at it like, oh, someone might steal my idea.
Yeah. But now the mansions of the future are there.
Yeah.
You could do something there.
There's a few bits and bobs. I think that my problem with Lincoln, my problem with Lincoln art scene is that a lot of bigger institutions kind of control the visual art scene, so to speak. I know with like open mics and stuff, you can kind of do it anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere you can sit people, you're good to go. But with like a gallery event or anything like that, you're very limited on space.
Yeah.
Because you have to have somewhere you can just hold artwork and not interfere with anything else. And I know with Frequency kicks off in a couple of weeks, the Digital Arts Festival, they do a lot with like pop-up locations. And I think it'd be great if Lincoln did more of that kind of thing. It'd be more kind of pushing towards, again, I think that changes with the audience as well. I think Lincoln's audience in the last maybe 6 years or so has gotten younger and younger because of the students coming in and because of people leaving the city just due to economics and whatnot. But I don't feel like anyone caters for them in terms of visual art anyway.
No, they don't. Surprisingly, the university don't.
Yeah.
Or when they do put on events, I find the one thing that they're very bad at is promoting it.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's been exhibitions on at the uni which I found out about on the day, and I thought, oh well, I guess I'll miss that. I can't go to that.
Yeah, which is a shame because
Yeah.
they've got lots of big rooms that way, and they've done lots of visual art stuff in the past.
Yeah.
But it probably wasn't well attended because people didn't know about it.
It's such a strange setup, I find, with Lincoln.
Yeah, but I guess mansions of the future, you could try one out there, see how it went. I mean, you've got lots of independent artists. So when you say visual art, do you mean experimental stuff with people with sound and lights?
I mean, a bit of everything, essentially. I mean, even in terms of illustration and painting, there's small galleries. I know that's like St. Martin's, which is near the Cheese Society.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And I think there's the Little Red Gallery up top of Steep Hill and whatnot. There's smaller galleries. But to me, my thought is always, if you're going to do something open exhibition-wise, you need to do it bigger. It needs to be quite a large space. And You need to have 50 or so submissions kind of to actually run it. Because I attended one in Scunthorpe, which I've got some work in, which is just in a cafe. But
Oh, is it the one that's like an old cinema? You go in, they've got a stage, they've
Yeah.
got sofas, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's called Cafe Indie.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
It used to be an old co-op.
Oh, right.
Because I'm originally from Scunthorpe.
Yeah.
And it was a co-op for a while, and it was like a sofa department store. And
Oh, really?
It's one of those buildings which has been through so many things, but it's such a big space. That
Yeah, no, it's
always a
fantastic.
shame. But they've got like one on the minute, but they've got 2 floors because of the separation, so they're able to do it. Whereas in Lincoln, everything building-wise is quite small because we
Yeah.
compacted everything in.
Yeah.
But I'd love to kind of do something painting or like visual video media and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Do you see yourself, having done comedy and scripting and stuff, exploring that more, maybe, like down the line?
Well, the comedy, yes. Yeah, no, I did enjoy the comedy and I felt comfortable in it.
Yeah.
And Paul had said if you go and do 10 open mics and then, maybe go out with them and be like a warm-up act, do the 10 minutes. But you would get on the circuit to probably getting paid a little bit, whatever you get, £5, £10.
I don't know if comedy is more scary than poetry to perform. Because obviously if you perform poetry, people sit, they're respectful, they listen. With comedy, if you don't get a laugh...
well, the one thing I learnt with poetry,
Yep.
and when we did go to lots of events out of Lincoln, and you would go to some places, and there might be 10 people there,
Yeah.
or even less on some. So you're used to an empty room,
Yep.
or you're used to like going to the joiners, and sometimes you have a crowd that's totally not interested.
Yeah.
You finish a poem, they don't even applaud and that, and
Yeah.
it's like driftwood is suddenly coming. Tumbleweed, not
Yeah.
driftwood,
Yeah.
tumbleweed. No, I found that when I did the comedy, and I've been used to doing the comparing and performing poetry in front of a mic, it is a performance
Yeah.
where you get into the zone of what you're doing. So I'd already got the words and everything.
Yeah.
It's just different from the personal poetry and sharing emotions.
Yeah.
You're trying to get a reaction from the audience. So it was finding those things, like I spoke about, getting people's attention about the spider and what I'd heard on the TV and wrote it into the script. I think you become possessed like somebody else. Well, Paul said that to me, because once I'd done the first few opening lines
Yeah.
and people did laugh, then you settle back into it.
Yeah.
And then once I'd built up to the main spider script, which was probably about 4 minutes long, I do a lot of screaming and shouting in it because it is about a phobia.
Yeah.
And I blame the ladies for the phobia because they're always stood on a chair screaming or shouting. So I've incorporated and it made it, like everything in comedy, larger than life.
Yeah.
So people were chuckling at that, or they were nudging somebody. Well, you do that,
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and no, I think you work into what your words are, and you've practiced it, and you run it over in your head. Because when you're practicing in a workshop, it's never the same as it is live on the night.
Yeah.
Because you get that vibe of an audience. And I mean, when they had the showcase, it was full. They had 60 people seated.
Wow. Okay.
Because they moved the tables and they did them in rows. And whether I was lucky or not, but Paul said to me, "You're going on last." And I thought, don't do this to me. I've been in the workshop with these people. I've seen them. And to me, I thought some of them, you know, really good and whatever. First guy got up and did his bit. And I thought, wow, where did that come from? It really, really good.
Yeah.
And then the next few got up and did it and whatever. And then when when the last person was performing their last few minutes, he came up to me and he said, "Your time to shine, Ronnie Be Good." He called me Ronnie Be Good. So, and that clicked.
Yeah.
I said, "Introduce me as Ronnie Be Good." So I've got a stage name as well.
Fully transformed for this comedy situation.
Yeah. Well, it's just those little things, and like you used to, like you are with writing, when you hear a line of something, you write it down. I don't ever know if I can ever use it, but at some point in the future, it fits in with something that you're doing.
I do a lot of that, of just making random notes on things. I think I had a chat with a friend, Rob, a while back, and the way I described it is you're trying to get that 1%. So if you think of a loading bar of 100%, if you even just start an idea, make a few notes, write a short script or paragraph or whatever, you're developing that 1%. So then you can always go back to it and build on it. Whereas if you never write it down, it's just gone.
It's
it's just lost.
Yeah, no, you must capture that thing when you hear it. Could be something you read in a book, you hear it on the radio or the TV. But it's got something about it that is inspiring, that you want to form something around it, you know. And I guess that's the same with comedy, but you've got to be... It's more observational, because you're looking at the funny things that people not only say, but what they do in their actions.
I think, I don't know, from writing comedy in the past, I find that you think a lot more about your audience than you would in any other format, because you're thinking how they might react, and you have to test it in a way. You're going to have to run through it, you're going to have to go through it, whereas with like drama or whatnot, you've just got a story to tell. As long as that story's clear, you're good.
Well, this is why open mic nights are useful for especially comedians, because before they do take any new material to a paid event or whatever, you can try it out there. I know Paul comes along, he has a piece of paper like that, and he's ticking them off. Oh, that one didn't work so well.
We'll get rid of that one.
Get rid of that one and whatever. And it just works. But I don't know. Excuse me. It's sometimes words stop you in their track. Like the TV one, which I incorporated for the funny bit, vaginal dryness, as if people haven't heard it enough time on this interview. But just little words. I'll give you an example. Go for it. I'll just have to go into my phone.
That's fine.
And I haven't got it fingerprinted. I should do.
Oh, I can't. I never deal with the thing. I've got a fingerprint on my iPad.
Yeah.
And it annoys me.
Yeah.
I feel like it has part of my personality because it's got my fingerprint.
Yeah. Just go through this. This is a bit boring. I should have thought about this beforehand.
There's no such thing as boring on this
written
podcast.
Stuff down. But I have got a new piece which I have started.
Right.
And the thing that I heard was people talking about when you're out on a romantic evening, particularly in a late summer night, and they use the words bathing in starlight.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, that's great, I'd like to use that. So then I jotted it down, and then I incorporated it. I can give you where I've got up to now. It's not completed, but it goes, here we are bathing in starlight, our eyes meeting as if it's the first time. Seeing you in this mystical light, it all seems so different now. We've kissed 1,000 times with our eyes before it reached our lips. You and me holding each other, feeling loved in a warm embrace. A kiss seals us for a moment in time. It was not into ears we whispered, but into our hearts. It was not lips we kissed souls.
Oh, that's very nice.
You know, so, and that's kind of loosely based on the fact you can have a friendship with somebody and of the opposite sex and go out with them a lot, and you just like buddies, but then there is that time when you see them in a different light, if you like, and suddenly you think more about it. I
think one of the main comments I got from last time you were on was about essentially that you're very open as a person.
Yes.
You're very willing to share and kind of thing. And I find with your poetry, you write a lot about, not saying like emotional things, but romantic ideas.
Right, that goes back to probably when I was younger. And when they had the Sunday afternoon films, and they'd have a lot of romantic films on. Errol Flynn was one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Even though he was a superb action hero, there was always the romance in it. And I got drawn into that, and then as I got older, I then developed a thing about romance in that way, but linked with time travel.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of the movie Somewhere in Time.
I've heard Somewhere in Time.
Yeah, it was with Christopher Reeve, and it was an amazing movie. It just struck me.
Yeah.
And this guy had fallen in love with somebody who he'd met at a party. She was an old woman then, and she just comes into the party. He's trying to promote some new work. And she has this fob watch and opens it up, puts it in his hand and says, "Come back to me."
Okay.
Now that's near the beginning,
Yeah.
and it draws you into the story. And then he gets writer's block, and then he goes to take a break, goes to this hotel, and in the foyer of the hotel is a picture of this same woman, but when she was younger.
Okay.
And he has this feeling that he's met her before, and then he, with one of the staff there that's worked there many years, he asked for the old ledgers of when she was there, and then he sees his signature in the ledger. So it's all about going back in time. And then more recent ones, the movie About Time, I don't know if you've seen that one.
No.
It's from about probably 4 or 5 years ago, British movie. I think Richard Curtis wrote the script to it. Great talented writer who's done so much, but it had English actors in it that I don't know. But the premise of that one again was about the male members of the family, when they reached a certain age, could go back in time.
I think I remember seeing a trailer for
you
this.
stand in a dark closet, it was so well written, so funny, but it was so romantic. And I think we all have that romantic element in us, where you dream of the perfect scenario or the love of your life turning up.
I find it interesting. Like, in a way, I find your work kind of unique in that sense. I think especially because people, at least my generation or lower, the whole idea of romanticism kind of comes a bit cliche for our kind of time. So when you see someone who's still genuinely doing it and enjoying writing that kind of work and doing that kind of work, it's fascinating. It's great because you're kind of seeing it like, oh yeah, there is romance still in the world.
It doesn't cost anything if you're out with a partner. And you open a door or you meet somebody new. I mean, I've heard people say that, when you open a door for somebody nowadays, they think you're a bit of a strange person,
I hold doors for everybody.
Yeah, well, I think you should.
Problem.
Yeah, I think you should. And I don't know, it's just those little things.
Yeah.
But it's that connection that you do have with some people you meet. And I know the particular piece that I wrote there and working on, and the friend it's connected to. I know there was that moment when we both had that glint in our eye and thought the same thing. I
think that's always interesting as well when you see someone read a piece or hear a piece or you see artwork or of any kind. You always know in the back of your mind that it relates to someone in reality. It's the artist has put something forward, so obviously it's them, but they're writing about someone or something, and you can always tell, in a way you can always tell whether it's good or bad, because you're like, ooh, are they making this up or are they just trying to imagine that feeling, or whether they've actually had that connection to someone and kind of thing. And I think audiences respond to that. I think you can usually tell.
Well, I mean, as you know, we're doing a lot of writing. And when I first started doing writing, I did it for myself many years ago. but it wasn't until I joined the writers group, and then people said, write what you know about.
Yeah.
Because then I guess those feelings come out on the page and people relate to it.
I think you get a lot more, I don't know if the work's better, but a lot honest work usually, you can usually tell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some people, authors and that, are very good at doing it as a third person thing, but we're all different, and probably you're the same as me. You can only write from your own experience.
Yeah, you put a little bit of yourself into everything you make.
Yeah.
So in the next year or so, what, have you got anything coming up? Anything going on?
Well, I've got Uncaged in October. The special guest there is a girl from Nottingham called Marita Robinson. She often comes and busts in Lincoln. She also sings professionally, and she sounds like Tracy Chapman. She's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to do 30 minutes. So if you want to catch a really top singer from Nottingham.
Yeah.
And then in December again at Uncaged, I don't know if you've heard of a local singer called George Shelley.
I have, I've heard of George Shelley.
Yeah, I first saw him earlier this year at the Curiosity Shop.
Yep.
I mean, he's only 19 now. Very talented, but
Young people.
But what struck me about him was the fact that he was a solo performer.
Yeah.
But he got this presence about him, and he was doing stuff by Stereophonics and Radiohead, and people started singing along, not just with one song, but with either the chorus or whatever in all songs. And at the end of it, I thought, wow, if one person can do that. So I thought, well, Christmas, it's going to be party time.
Yeah.
If we can get some of his followers come along and they start doing stuff like that, it'd be great for a party atmosphere.
Once again, building that community as you do.
But the other event I mentioned, which I didn't mention the name of, that is something for next year.
Something for next year.
You know, I mean, at the moment, I'm concentrating with the fact that my wife's in a care home. And, I mean, you know, it's not the same person anymore. It's not her fault. No. But she's had lots of things go off. And, again, when I was talking to somebody about that, they said, well, that's loyalty. Yeah. I thought, well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know, it's not her fault what she's got.
Yeah.
We had great times and everything like that. And she's had mini stroke and lots of things. So that changes people, and you know, and then when you see them, particularly when they lose a bit of weight and they become quite ill, and you see somebody in that fragile state, and it's also like they're in a fetal position. Yeah. You know, you can't help but feel sadness. Yeah. You know, it is feeling sad, but I think I coped with that because I do mindfulness and things like that, and got involved with the law of attraction, or as I like to call it now, because I read a book by Dr. Wayne Dyer. He calls it the power of intention. He doesn't like it being the law of attraction. And because a lot of other books have been written about it, and when you read them, it's all about, I want this, I want that.
Okay, yeah.
And he says it doesn't work like that. With the power of intention, or equals law of attraction, it is the same principle of where you put out energy, but you're just doing it in a natural way. Because he classed where the ego wants to, I want a new car on the driveway, I want this. Yeah. That is more like motivation. Okay. And when you've got motivation, you've got that goal, you go for it until you've got it. Yeah. With the power of intention, it's about having this flow, because he talks about, whether you call it a god or a spiritual being or whatever, the source, and everything comes and goes back to the source, which has been universal since the beginning of time. And as we know with Nikola Tesla, and when he talked about energy waves and the great ideas he came up, the idea with that is that energy is all around us. And so if we build up our own energy levels, if you give out bad energy or really sad energy, then that will come back to you. Okay. So if you do things to be happy with people, just put out good vibes. Because when you've been to a party, like attracts like.
Yeah.
You don't want to mix with the grumpy people, and you ask them how they are, and they tell you their whole life story about when they were in hospital and everything else. You mix with the other people. So it's about naturally using the power of your mind, but just thinking of what you want in your life. It talks about kindness and love when you meet people, because that's all energy that you're putting out there, and doing things without expecting anything back.
Yeah.
Whether it's for a friend or giving stuff away, I chuck 2p's and 5p's in a big bowl, and when I go into town, I put them in my back pocket, and if I'm out and I've seen somebody on the street regular that I just give them that, and the one I think it was yesterday, the bridge pathway that connects to the Royal William and going under there, and I'd seen this guy times before and walked by, and this time I looked at him and he looked up, but he never said, can you spare a copper? He just smiled. So I dug in my pocket, put that down in his hand. I said, it's not much. He said, every penny counts. So it makes you feel good. I can't do much more for them, but if that made his day a little bit brighter. And again there, when you're lifting people's own energy levels, because we've got serotonin, and that creates good chemicals. So it made me feel good. It made him feel good that somebody had done something in a small way. So, like the power of intention, it's a very in-depth subject to get on. Some people think it's a load of crap, but I've had lots of things go off and good things that have happened, and you're trying to create that flow. It's like a continuous flow. So you try and get yourself out of the bad vibes and everything. And we all have depression in our lives, and like the guy who wrote the book, he'd been an alcoholic and whatever. But again, he meditated and did things like that. And then he started studying some of the world's religions, which didn't really suit him. There were good things in all of it. But the one book he came across, was written over 2,500 years ago, and it's by Lao Tzu. It's called the Tao Te Ching, which is, some people know about it. It's got 81 verses in it, I think. It's not meant to preach about a god or anything like that. Translated, it means the book of the way. And he predates Confucius. And it was meant to teach anybody, people, governments, how to deal with life and how to do things. And he talks about virtue and being virtuous. If I can read another small bit to you. It's an example, I think it's from verse 51 in there. And this was written, as I say, 2,500 years ago. It's been obviously translated, because when you translate it as close as you can. I just have to do this. Go on to mobile data, because I saved it. You can get the audio book. It's on YouTube. There's lots of different ones doing it.
I know little bits about Lao Tzu and kind of the Eastern teachings and bits
Right.
because I did a lot of reading into like Nietzsche and Sartre
Oh, right.
and all those
yeah.
kinds of things. So there's bits, but I'd never really hear work.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll not go into a lot of it. I've covered I mean, that's a subject on its own that you could
That's
go
next
into
year.
for next
We'll have a
year.
philosophy one next year.
Yeah, it's all about allowing things and just being and embracing stuff. And what you have to do is to be free and allow yourself to be in this consciousness, as they call it.
Yeah.
And I'll just find the particular one that I'm looking for.
Sounds good.
And we're getting there. Silence is not good on the radio. Yeah, I've found it now. Yeah, it is not verse 51 in the Tao Te Ching.
Okay.
And Lao Tzu said, "Those who want to know the truth of the universe should practice the 4 cardinal virtues. The first one is reverence for all life. This manifests as unconditional love and respect for oneself and all other beings. The second is natural sincerity. This manifests as honesty, simplicity and faithfulness. The third is gentleness, which manifests as kindness, consideration for others, and sensitivity to spiritual truth. The fourth is supportiveness. This manifests itself as service to others without expectation of reward."
That's some very nice sentiments.
You know, and the reason I got into that book, I'd read it, and it's one of those, as probably you found, you have to keep going back, because it's quite deep.
You read it a few times.
But then Dr. Wayne Dyer, a number of years ago, and I came across his book, wrote this book, and I was going through depression at the time. It was called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And what he'd done was he'd studied this book for a whole year, and he tried to then, he would give the original verses in order, you know, but then when he'd done verse 1, he would put a modern day, how it applies to modern life.
Okay, yeah.
And that is the way it led up into the book until you got through all 81 verses.
I think that's great. I mean, like, as you say, some people kind of look at exploration of kind of spirituality or mental health and all these kinds of things as things to just kind of throw away and whatnot. I know personally I'm very logical. I don't kind of get into that thing, but I'll never put down or question anyone who uses it, because if it's a way of them living their life and it makes them happy, then fantastic. That's how people kind of get through life. Yeah. And I think from the things you do, you can see that mindfulness of what you're doing in everything you do, you know, your events and you're getting to know people and whatnot. And I think, you'll only continue to grow.
Well, it's all about finding inner peace for yourself, and then when you're meeting other people is put out just those nice vibes, and if people feel good around you. And I always tell a lot of my friends if they feel stressed out, 'cause I know what some of them think, but that is probably because they're in not a good state at the moment, and so you're rejecting stuff. But like I told them, when I got to the depths of despair one time, it was something that pulled me out of it. But there is a phrase that I use and I pass on to anybody. If you get stressed out in any situation, you don't have to speak it out loud, say it in your head, but repeat it over and over, but calmly. And then try and do the action. So it's like breathe in calm, breathe out chaos. Breathe in calm, breathe out chaos. And if you do that as like a mantra, when you're in a stressful situation, maybe in the car. I was stuck on Sunday in that horrendous traffic.
Oh yeah.
But it's amazing what it does for you, and it just brings you
Gives
down.
You that centered level.
But that's what the book of Lao Tzu does. It's not about any god or anything. He's talking about the world as an energy, and we can tap into that source and create our own energy, and then when we meet other people, they feel pick it up and
pass it on.
So.
I think that's a very nice point to round out to.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think we discussed. I mean, we've discussed so many things today.
Yeah.
We discussed audience and comedy and how you get through work and life. But it's been wonderful to have you.
It's been fantastic to see you again. Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure I'll see you at many events in the future. It seems to be whenever I turn up somewhere, I'm just like, oh, there's Ron.
Well, yeah, I did have one friend, Frankie Barton. I don't know if you know him. He always puts on Facebook when he sees lots of stuff and I'm different places that I'm omnipresent.
You should have a Ron watch where people can just tag you. I've seen Ron.
Yeah. Well, I know lots of people like Martin Laverick and things like that. Yeah. And he's always posting pictures of stuff.
Well, thank you, Ron. I'm sure we'll have you back.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
We'll have to come again. And we'll talk to you guys later. There we go.